If you just sit there and play the blame game instead of sharing how you truly feel, you are just going to continue this cycle of nonsensical BS. If the silent treatment has become a pattern and you recognize that, support. Don't just give your partner a book, get support. Go and see someone and have a plan. Get a plan, truly.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Today I'm here hoping to be able to interview Joey Wilder. He is the creator, inventor, founder, you name it.
We have Joey Wilder, first time coming on the show.
But at that moment, I had a choice to make. I either hit this while it's hot, while people are hyped up about it, or kind of let it simmer out. And I've been told by many great mentors that it's all about the timing of things. As we're 10 days into the year, I'm getting a lot of feedback on a lot of the episodes and a lot of the trainings that I'm putting out. And I'm just not only humbled in this, but also excited. I'm excited for the direction that things are going with this podcast and really with kind of everything that we're doing here, not only from the trainings, but the app, the live event that's happening in March. It's the second weekend of March, or I guess the first weekend. It's the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And it's here in San Diego. It's going to be in Joshua Tree, but you guys can come into San Diego and we can spend some time here. And then we will, at 0:30, caravan out to Joshua Tree is the plan. It's all inclusive. So room, food, your own place to stay, all of that is included in this. It's going to be experience-based, training-based. I'm going to lead a couples intensive workshop, and we're going to do things that will probably lead to you feeling not only expanded, but also having more of a foundation set coming into the final 3 quarters of the year. And with that, I believe that this is the greatest opportunity that we're in, this day and age. We have so much at our fingertips, and so many are still falling through the cracks. Whether it's in relationships or whether it's in business, I've witnessed firsthand, and I've witnessed by proxy, that when conflict arises in business and or relationships and also marriage, it's natural to want space to cool off, right? That's valid. People get upset. They have big emotions. Guys, everyone can have big emotions. Yours are not smaller than hers, and hers are not smaller than yours. I believe a lot of the time where fringe happens is when individuals, in these instances, when they just want to storm off and retreat, we want to say the fuck you bye. We storm off with our keys. I'm out of here. And what we really want is that person to chase after us, because it reaffirms that story in our mind. They care. They care. Guys, it's all bad. It's all bad. And for myself personally, I won't tolerate that behavior. When I was younger, I did, because, I was conditioned from my parents. And not throwing shade at all, we just did not learn healthy ways to conflict resolve. And in that, when someone retreats or gives you the silent treatment or stonewalls you, that's what it's actually called. There's a difference between space and stonewalling. But when silence stretches into when that space, whether you ask for it in a healthy way, which I do recommend, it's okay to ask for healthy space, but you cannot do that ambiguously. Oh, I just need space. You're just putting someone in a place of anxiety, and to be completely straightforward, that's fucked up. Shitty people do that. Those are the same type of people that go through people's cell phones. Yes, those are shitty people. There's no grounds that is okay to violate someone's privacy. And no, it's not about, if they have nothing to hide, ask them. I've had someone do that to me who then tried to do all of these things. And with that, it not only is a boundary, it's a value, but all of that to say, if you truly respect and honor and love the person that you are with, you owe it to them to not put them in a place of the silent treatment, because it really just becomes this destructive force that erodes trust, it kills intimacy, and it completely diminishes all opportunity to connect. Now, this is also harmful in business. I've seen this when people will have some type of reaction, or maybe they'll say something off the cuff or under their breath, or maybe they'll just drop the ball on something. And we live in a world where many people do not like to be held accountable. They see it as punishment. There's a difference between punishing someone and holding them accountable. However, we live in a society, in a world where people do not get held accountable by nature. Like, that is a fundamental flaw within society. We can't even get putting criminals away right. How can we get anything else right? And we're trying our best, because realistically, not only are we in crisis, there's a lack of good faith in a vision of what's better. We're just stuck in this dogma of hurt people hurting people. And it can end. It can. But you need to diminish your ego and come from a place of curiosity instead of criticism. Approaching a conversation from a place of criticism and your body language reflecting that, and there being no compassion, how can you expect someone to meet you with empathy when you were just completely closed off? This is a two-way street. Regardless, what I'm getting at is this: when someone is hurt, you can lean in without compromising your values. The silent treatment is just what shitty people do. And it just creates more of a dumpster fire, of a problem. And maybe perhaps you've been in the place where a mountain is made out of a molehill. Like, this big thing is made out of this small little problem, because all of these things continue to happen. And it just creates this big stack of a shit storm. You guys know what I'm talking about? You guys ever been there? It's like, how did we get here? It was just this little thing that I wanted to bring up. And now you've done this, said this, you did this thing. And it's like, what the fuck? You guys ever been there? I had a guy that was sharing with me where they had a conversation about something that was triggering. It had to do with a financial trigger. And they had this really great conversation. And then literally 20 minutes later, she did the same thing. And he just messages me and he's like, I'm kind of in this, do I address it? Is this a joke? And so he approached it, and it created a bigger fight. And it opened up dialogue for them later on, where she had realized she would say things to appease him because she did not know how to resolve things and did not have the tools. And that is her journey. That is all on her. And that's valid. However, it does not approve the behavior. That's the thing, guys. Just because someone apologizes and just because they start to get on their healing journey, it doesn't approve the behavior. You get to figure out what it looks like to trust them again and to know that that'll never happen again. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want people that have poor reactions and silent treatment around my children. Ever. If you're going to do that, I don't have space for you. And neither does any of the men that I work with, because they know healthy boundaries. They know how to set a frame. They're not going to yell at you. They're not going to break shit. But if you are cruel to them, they will leave you. They will. Not from me telling them, and not from anyone telling them, because they hold themselves to a higher standard. And that low frequency BS of the games, there's no space for it. We're here to be adults. We're not these 25-year-old, I'm not going to go off on that. But guys, be adults in these conversations. The silent treatment sabotages relationships in business and in marriages, because it's just this way that I believe most feel like avoids conflict, but it really just leads to deeper issues, starting with the first, and it just creates emotional distance. Withholding communication, it just creates disconnect. It pushes people further apart. There's a difference between space and the silent treatment. And if that's your goal, to create emotional distance, like, yeah, go for the silent treatment, but it's going to sabotage everything you've built. And number two, it breeds resentment. That space in between that, all of that is being filled with resentment and emotional distance and withdrawal, which leads to the final one. It damages trust. Ignoring your partner's feelings and not validating them and leading to them feeling undervalued, it damages the foundation of trust in your relationship, whether it's in business or in marriages. It does. It makes you an untrustworthy person. If someone cannot come to you and share something and vice versa, and they're minimized, here's what it leads to on the psychological side. This is often a reaction that we have from feeling hurt. We feel overwhelmed or we feel powerless. It's a form of emotional withdrawal that we usually learn as children to protect ourselves from more pain. However, this strategy actually inadvertently creates a cycle of misunderstanding and disconnection. You're just hurting the person on the other end of it. And I'm not going to say it's not your fault. It is, because you're the one that's doing the action. It's a condition that you took on, that you adapted. It's not something that was nurtured into you. Now, I've been in an instance where I had to turn to someone and compassionately ask them, who taught you that? Who taught you this action? Because I don't believe it's attached to us. And when you can take a moment to pause and ask that, and guys, this is situational. Don't take something that I say that I said or I supported someone saying and just go and use it, because that's like giving a toddler like a handgun with one in the chamber. Not a good idea, you know? Like, and if it sounds like something that you could use, like, guys, click the link in the description. You can literally join for $1. It's super easy. I don't give a fuck if you join and then cancel. That's fine. At least you got 14 days of doing something, which is better than nothing. But continuing on in this, when you're using something to protect yourself and you're feeling hurt and overwhelmed and powerless, it's okay to express that. It's okay to express that. I think many times when we are experiencing some type of friction, a problem, an ordeal, we go into fight, flight, freeze. Fight, flight, freeze. I want to replace that with pause, think, breathe. PTB. Pause, think, breathe. When you can give yourself a moment to pause and to think and to breathe, don't just sit there aimlessly, like when your partner says something, as if you were like pontificating the greatest thing to say. Just stop. Like, I understand people need their time to share, but when you sit in that moment and you're leaving the person you're speaking to in silence or disarray, I want to share with you 5 things that you can do instead. And really, if you are just tired of using the silent treatment as this coping mechanism, these 5 steps will be an opportunity for you to actually start moving things in a different direction. Now, here's what to do instead. Starting with number 1, acknowledge the conflict. Instead of retreating to silence, name the issue. For example, I feel overwhelmed by our argument and need some time to process before we talk. I would like to speak in X amount of time. Now, in this, do not sit there and fucking punish your partner and make it a week or 3 days or some bullshit like that. Like I said, that space creates more emotional distance, okay? Toddlers, like they rectify their stuff in like minutes. I think they've got it figured out. We can have big emotions. If it's going to take more than 3 days, here's what I truly recommend. Go to a therapist, go to a counselor, have a third-party mediator. Any more than 3 days, like, that's just cruel. I'm standing by this, and people can quote me on this. I believe that most people never learned conflict resolve. And I mean it when I say if toddlers and children need 10 minutes, 20 minutes, Josh, tell me, 20 minutes, they're good? Maybe an hour? Maybe they've got something right in conflict resolve, and we're making mountains out of molehills. And I get it. People have emotions, but some people are just children that got older that are still acting the same. It's time to grow up, because the person that's on the other side of that silent treatment, it's not fair to them, but you can name the conflict, which leads into number 2, set a time to reconnect, because taking space is okay. But commit to revisiting conversations and follow through. Follow through. This gives your partner, whether it's in business or it's in a relationship, the reassurance that the issue matters to you. It's not left as this ambiguous thing and they go away to Isolation Island in their solo silo. And I've got some good analogies. I'm going to make shirts. I'm not on Isolation Island. I escaped Isolation Island. That'd be great. It's like the Alcatraz shirts. I'd probably get a cease and desist for selling those. It's cool. It'd make a good story. And I want to lead into number 3. Active listening. Actually listen. Stop forming a response in your mind before the person is done speaking. Let them finish speaking. You know what really grinds my gears? Being spoken over while I'm talking and being interrupted while I'm speaking. It makes me respond like this, regardless of who I'm speaking to, because I feel disrespected when I'm spoken over, and it makes me feel like I'm not able to express my thought, and regardless of what I say, is not being heard. Does that make sense? Do you guys see how I acknowledged the conflict? I named it. It gives weight and opportunity for you to feel heard. And if you are not heard, you can take space and set a time to reconnect. When it comes to active listening, this means focus on truly hearing the person that's speaking. Avoid interrupting and acknowledge their feelings, even if they're not valid for you. You can say, I just want to validate your feelings for you, although they're not valid for me. I can imagine how that feels for you. Don't be a dick. Don't be cruel. Don't sit there and pour salt and hydrogen peroxide mixed with some sriracha on the wound. And number 4 is use I statements. This means expressing how you feel without blaming your partner. What it sounds like is, I feel hurt when, instead of, you always make me feel, it's accusatory. Because then it's going to be like, no, I don't. You always do this. And it's just like javelin after javelin after javelin. You know, this happens in business too. I like to diffuse frames at times. And what that can sound like is, I can tell we are both passionate right now about this. What would a solution look like for you? What would a solution to this look like for you? I would like to hear from you, and then I will share after. As compromise is a part of business and a part of relationships, especially when it moves into marriage. But if you don't nip these things in the bud in the beginning, it is just going to cause further turmoil. If you just sit there and play the blame game instead of sharing how you truly feel, you are just going to continue this cycle of nonsensical BS. If the silent treatment has become a pattern and you recognize that, get support. Don't just give your partner a book, get support. Go and see someone and have a plan. Get a plan. Truly. I have a frame I normally give guys inside our program, and every guy on this call knows it. It's called setting the frame, and it has to do with inviting your partner to that type of professional help. And the thing is, you share in that, I would love for you to join me I'm going to go regardless. And you follow through. Guys, I see a therapist multiple times a week. I see different therapists during different phases of different things I'm experiencing. It's an investment, yes, it is. But it makes me better. So that way I'm consistently trying my best to do my best. But here's the thing. We can always try our best. We don't always do our best. And I'm going to get through this and then I'll pull you up, Lance. Now, guys, in this, when you have a neutral party, it enables for each of you to feel like someone's hearing you in that. And that external validation sometimes comes, or that external, you're fucking up. Now, I'll also add fundamentally, I want to say this, fundamentally, the DSM, in my professional opinion, is educated against men. It does not levy for conflict resolve in relationships and marriage. That is my professional opinion. I'm open to hearing anyone's professional thoughts, but please back it up with empirical information that is actually something of substance. In that, I'm not saying it is not fruitful and it is not helpful, but what I am saying is both partners need to be focused on their work if they truly want to create change. The DSM in a couples therapy setting is not matriculated nor articulated in an educational basis to create change in that setting. That's the perfect way to say it. In that, you can replace silence with connection because it rebuilds trust. It demonstrates respect and commitment to resolving issues. It strengthens intimacy. It actually encourages some sense of vulnerability and a deeper emotional connection. And realistically, it improves conflict resolve. Nothing is just going to work itself out. You can't just sweep everything under the rug. You know, like that rug's got a lot of stuff underneath it. Like you need to get a Dyson, get a V8 Dyson. I'll send you a link. It's great. It's peak adulthood. And I've got two final thoughts here. Here's when you recognize when you actually need help. If you're struggling to move past the silent treatment in business or in your relationship, it may be time to seek some outside support. It may be time to actually go and talk to someone outside of those friends that just tell you all the things that you want to hear. Now, you got two options. For my guys on this call, I'm giving you guys something completely different. But for anyone listening to this recording, or if they're hearing this on the podcast, you have two options. You can click the link in the description. You can join for $1. We'll get on a call. I'll chat. I'll hear you. You'll leave with the game plan. Or you can join the communication workshop, which is right below that. Either one is going to give you the tools that you need. You can choose. I recommend doing something because everything you've done up until now has gotten you here. And if here isn't where you want to be, do something, make a change. Here's the final thoughts, and then I'm going to bring Lance on. The silent treatment may feel like a way to protect yourself, but in reality, it sabotages the trust and intimacy that your relationship thrives by and what it needs to survive. When you choose communication over silence, you create a space for understanding, growth, and love. When you just do the silent treatment, people go away to their isolation island with their solo silo, especially if words of affirmation are a high love language to them. Because when you withhold words, you withhold love, and that actually is contempt. But guys, I want you to take a moment of reflection right here, right now. Think of a time that you maybe showed up with the silent treatment. Or you maybe showed up in a way that you weren't proud of. What would you have done differently, knowing what you know now? And what is the lesson that you learned from that? Because ultimately, wisdom is only healed pain. And it's up to you to heal your pain. Otherwise, you're going to pass it on to your children. And I don't believe that that's what we really want, right? I don't believe like we're like, yo, I got this dirty part of me. Here you go, kid. Go get him, champ. I don't think that's what we want. It's your opportunity when you see these gaps. And now that you know better, as Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you get to do better. So take a step today, reflect. In what areas may I be demonstrating the silent treatment instead of conflict resolve? And does that mean I just don't have the tools? And that's okay. You can always learn. And guys, don't sit here and tell me, well, you know, I do this, so I can't talk like that. Like, guy, I've worked with all types of guys. Worked with this guy named Charlie. Every call we had, he was in his tractor, plowing his fields. He's a great guy. Love that guy. And man, he's using power statements. He's setting the frame. He's using I feel statements. He's setting boundaries. And they've created a beautiful new marriage. When she was out, she was ready to divorce. Papers were there. I got on the last call with him. His kids were running around. He has like 5 kids, I believe. I got to meet his daughter. Because you can heal and you can change. But it's your choice to step into it. I believe a part of a boy becomes a man when he realizes that no one is coming to save him. No one's coming to save you. Like, yes, you have friends. I will levy for my brothers, but I can't save them. They know that, and I know they can't save me. But we're in the battlefield together. No one is coming to save you. And that's not like, oh, I'm going to die. No, you're not. You have a choice. Life doesn't come by happenstance or causation. Life comes as a byproduct of choice, and maybe you're just making the wrong choices. So maybe starting today, you start to make the right choice. Because if right here, right now isn't where you'd like to be, sometimes a byproduct of broken systems lead us into places we don't want to be. But the sooner you realize that life is happening for you and not to you, you'll win. You can stand at that intersection of humility and failure and recognize that either path that happens, you will win. Because failure is just learning, and learning creates wisdom, and wisdom gets passed on. Anything outside of that is not within grace. And I believe that you owe yourself enough grace to recognize that everyone makes mistakes. So drink from the well of yourself and begin again.